And we are back. Welcome, everyone. We already had quite a lot of content already. We've got a lot more great stuff coming up. We're firing through it. Really enjoyed the session so far. They've been great, and I know we're really going to enjoy this one. Our next speaker has been talking about TikTok way before anyone else was talking about it. I think the first time I heard the word TikTok was probably from him. He was talking about TikTok and TikTok influencers, I think in our event in Berlin a while back, in our London event. And yeah, they're definitely one of the pioneers of working on this channel. So I'd really like you to give a big virtual TikTok marketing strategies welcome to the stage for Judy from Yoke Network, and he's going to be talking about influencer marketing on TikTok. Please give him a virtual hand.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you all today. So my name is Jide Madawako, and I'm the CEO at the Yoke Network, and we do a host of work on TikTok in terms of on a CPI basis, and more recently we've launched our own media channels on TikTok. So what I wanted to do was run through today, and what I call is TikTok influencer secrets. So let me go to there. So yeah, so the contents of today's session is going to be firstly I'll just cover like who we are, so why you should kind of listen to me, and maximizing your influencer campaigns. So how you can really kind of things to look for and the value that you can get from influencer creator campaigns, and then finally building your audience on TikTok, because we recently have launched our own channels on the platform, and it'll be good for me to help you guys as advertisers about ways that you could do so yourself. So who am I? My name is Jide Madawako, and I'm CEO at Yoke Network. So we're a London-based influencer marketing, I call it ecosystem, because we have multiple sides to the business. But our core business is our influencer network, where we run CPI influencer campaigns for our mobile app. And in terms of that influencer network, so we currently have a total of like 600 million audience, over 2,000 creators, and we predominantly do most of our work and the influencers audiences are mainly in the US. And then obviously, although we're London based, we also do a lot of work with creators based in the UK. And with influencer traffic, you get installs and their audience spans across the globe. So about 4% of that influencer audience is also in the rest of the world. And in terms of our core business, there's a CPI influencer marketing. So we work with a host of apps to essentially work on a performance basis, and it's a pay-per-download model where influencers can come onto our app, copy a link and promote, and then they can help you as a mobile advertiser to grow on a performance basis. And then also now in terms of our own media network, so we're growing our own media channels, which is something I'll explain further down in this talk as to how you could do so yourself. So here are some of like our trusted partners and some of the clients that we've worked with over our time at Yoke. So let's get into it. In terms of what I wanted to start with is maximizing your influencer campaign. So what I wanted to do was talk about the key tips of how, when you're working on TikTok, how you can really kind of maximize the influencer campaigns, because a lot of advertisers speak to me and they say that they haven't had influencer campaigns perform, and influencer campaigns are pretty unpredictable. So I wanted to talk about how you can increase the predictability of them and kind of have a better, have more certainty into when you work with creators. So number one, I'll be talking about is creative strategy and the key tips around that. Number two, I wanted to talk about duration of content, because I think a lot of advertisers forget that TikTok is actually a media channel. And even when you're advertising with influencers, you need to think about the duration of content, when to put in call to actions or so, and everything around that. And finally, I want to talk about creative views. So this is important because views are the most important metric I'd say you can measure influencers on TikTok as a signal of a predictability of, okay, this is a signal of success, and there's a few tips I can give you as to how you could do that. So let's get into it. So number one, what I wanted to talk about is like engaging the influencer. And when you're creating content with an influencer, it should be done in a really engaging and native way. And this is because like influencer content needs to be natural to really engage their audience. And then also I wanted to talk about like highlighting key features. So when you're working with an influencer, because you're an advertiser, what you should be doing is trying to make sure that the content is integrated into the influencer's natural tone of voice, because you're renting their ad space and you're going in and integrating your brand. So what I'd say is that you should highlight the key features of your product or your app or your brand when you're working with creators, so that they can really have it as a very seamless type of way, and it can work well on that side. So the next thing which I wanted to talk about, which is like really important, is like you need to look at like the duration of content. And here is something that you should be requesting from influencers when you're working with them. So every influencer, they actually get to see like the average watch time of their content. And if you look here for this screenshot, if you look at the top, the average watch time is actually 12 seconds, and the duration of the content is 17 seconds. So what you actually want to look at is asking the influencer, okay, across your last 3 posts, for example, where is your audience actually watching up to? Because then it helps you to integrate the call to action. And this is really important, because when you're working with an influencer, if you're able to integrate a call to action at the peak average watch time, then your ads will be a lot more effective, and it will allow you to then say, okay, cool, I can actually maximize their audience and the viewership. Because if you integrate an ad or a call to action too late in the content, you're not actually going to get you're not going to maximize their audience space, and you're not going to maximize the eyeballs that come onto their page. So I'll say it's really important to get these statistics when speaking to an influencer, and just ask them for a few screenshots of their last few posts and the watch time that they had. And then finally, you need to also think like, does the influencer's content work? And this is really important, because if you're a fitness app and then you're working with a gaming influencer, that may not fit too well into their content. So by looking at the influencer category and duration of their content, then you're able to integrate yourself in at the right time, so that you can maximize the ad space. And then the next thing I want to talk about is like selecting creators. And these are kind of key tips that we look at Yoke when selecting influencers. So what we do is that we actually look at the average number of views on their last 3 posts. And I'd even say look at it go as much as the last 4 posts or 5. Main reason because if the influencer's views are fluctuating, then what that is a signal of like ad hoc creativity, and their audience isn't as engaged and consistently engaged with them. So what might be happening is that the influencer hasn't actually built an audience that is loyal to the content that they're making. So they might be relying on like the For You page or hitting the Explore page on TikTok for their content to actually get a lot of views. So really and truly, what you should be looking at is like how often is the influencer hitting a consistent number of views and the engagement rate from that. And I'll show you examples in a sec. The next thing is the frequency of posts. So one thing that I would always suggest is looking at how frequent the influencers are actually promoting, because what a lot of creators do on TikTok is that they'll promote, then their video might not get a lot of views, so they might private or delete those posts. So what you should look at is like, is the influencer posting like on a daily basis? And when you go on their posts, and if you actually look at like gaps in how frequently and the dates as to when they've been posting, then that could give you a signal of, okay, this influencer is consistently posting and actually consistently getting a high amount of views. So here is an example of one influencer on the left, which, as you can see, like they are averaging in terms of views. They have 7.3 million followers. They're getting 61K views on their second latest post, then 135K, which is double, but it's not as high. And then it's back down to the 50K range. So just because this creator has an audience of 7.3 million followers, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to get access to all of those eyeballs. Whereas if you look at the influencer on the right, this is actually another creator who has 26 million followers. But if you look, she's consistently getting tens of millions of views on her content. And that shows that her audience is highly engaged, and this is the type of creator that you want to work with, because you know that if you're going to integrate your brand and your ad into their content, then it's more likely going to reach a lot more of their audience, and essentially you're going to get a lot more for your advertising. You're going to get a lot more for your advertising dollars. So when it goes very well in terms of integrating the correct time, in terms of the call to action, in terms of integrating your brand with an influencer that fits, creating native content, and working with an influencer of consistent views, it turns out like this.
All right, do you want to play Call of Duty or Roblox?
Let's play Roblox.
Let's do it. Let's see here, what weapons do I have? I think I'm gonna use the spatula. All right, our mission is to find the treasure chest. When I get to you, we'll go find it together.
Okay. I can't get my point of view right.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Oops.
So this is a creator called Daniel Lebel, and the reason why we selected him is because he consistently gets millions of views per post, but also he is able to integrate ads into his content, so very, very natively, so that it allows his audience to want to actually use it. So if you look at Daniel Lebel, he actually put the call to action at the beginning of the content, which I think is actually really good because it catches everybody's eyeballs, and then the actual call to action pops up for a few seconds natively, and then it goes into his content. So with that, the way that he's integrated it is that he's allowed the audience to actually see, okay, cool, play FaceTime with your friends, but then he takes them on that kind of emotional journey of playing a Roblox game with your friend, using Bunch the app, and getting killed accidentally. So I think that this was executed really well, and like if you were to work with creators, I'd say do it more like that. So next, what I want to talk about is building your own audience on TikTok, which a lot of advertisers have asked me, if I'm going to be on TikTok, do I need to have my own audience, or can I just work with creators? And there's a whole kind of there's a lot of questions around it. But for us, what we then did at Yoke is that we recently launched our own channel, which is the Wave House, which is a content creator house, because a lot of advertisers have asked us, oh, why aren't you doing it? And a lot of creators have come to us and said we should do a content house. So what we then did say is that if we were to do it, we want to execute it with all that we know, and make sure that we do it to the best that we can. So we launched a Wave House at the beginning of September, and in this I'll talk about the case study about our launch strategy, and then also the key tips as to the things that we did so that we could actually engage the audience, and actually have a successful launch, and with all that we know on TikTok. So in terms of the Wave House, so we actually launched with this video, and I'll play it so you can have a look.
Something really real so that I can really feel like a person again. Stranger.
So I guess you're wondering why was this creator in a bath full of milk, and why do these guys have masks? And that all good questions to ask, because when we launched with this video, it actually received a total of 43 million views to this current moment. So the video has been up for about 17 days now, so it's on 43 million views. In the first 24 hours, it had over 18 million views, and it's actually received over 4.3 million likes. And in terms of the results, so if you actually look, the total views across since we actually launched the post were 173 million views across the profile of the Wave House, and we've gained over and in 21 days we've gained over 2.2 million followers. So we've had a lot of engagement on the page, but what I want to do is kind of give you an insight as to like how we did that. So when we actually launched the Wave House, we've also seen that there's been a lot of UGC that's been generated from it. So we've actually received over 15.3 million uses of our views on the Wave House hashtag, and over 55 million views on the Wave House actual hashtag. So in total altogether, that's an additional 70 million views that we've had. And in terms of UGC, we've inspired a lot of actual creators to then go out and create their own content and their own versions of their own mask reveals.
Mom, that's good. But if you want to be the Wave House, we've got to start up the ante. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Stranger.
So there's been a lot of talk online about who are these guys, how did they end up on my For You page, and what I actually wanted to do is show you that one, as that's one of our favorite pieces of content that has been organically made by TikTok creators. So in terms of our strategy, we took a three-step approach to actually launching a page. So our core business is performance, influencer marketing. So we actually have a lot of historical data on the influencers and that we've worked with, and we have a huge data bible on who has the highest scale, who actually drives interactions, and how do these creators actually engage their audience with purchases and actual driving their following. So number one, we selected the creators based on historical data. Each of the creators that we have in the house that we worked with, they actually are one of our top, some of our top performing influencers in our network, who actually drive a lot of interaction with the audience, with their audience. So what I would suggest is that if you're an advertiser and you're launching your page, it's always good for you guys to probably work with creators that you've maybe tested with historically, and then if you want to extend the relationship, you can use that data that you have on the creators to kind of build a longer term relationship. And then we also use a lot of engagement driving content, which I'll show you, and we used a growth maximizing strategy. So in terms of the engagement driving content, what we actually did is that within all of the mask reveals, we actually use pretty like odd and obscure pieces of content, so that it drove the audience to comment and interact and say, why is that there, like and why are they doing this? So for example, we started with Eloise being in a bath full of milk. So the mask that was the creators that were standing there in the mask pouring the milk will drive a lot of comments from the audience to say, why are they doing that? And then secondly, we used the mask reveals. So we actually thought, funny enough, that the creators were a lot more well known than they actually were, and we actually hit a lot larger audience than we initially thought that we were going to. But it was funny because with the suspense from the mask reveals and the suspense from the creators actually creating the hype around it, the audience were commenting like, I wonder who's going to be under the mask. They're expecting a celebrity, they're expecting bigger people, and it was actually some of the creators that we already had, but it's worked out really well. And then finally, in terms of one of the launches, we used the smoke bombs. So the smoke bombs are we see a lot of online. There's a lot of content of baby reveals, and they drive a lot of engagement, and they go viral fairly frequently. So actually starting with a smoke bomb attracts the audience's eyes because it may be a baby gender reveal, but then it also gets the audience to ask questions and say, what is that? Why are they holding a smoke bomb? Stuff like that. So in the actual content, we actually used it to our advantage by not having it as perfect. So sometimes there'll be content that we created and there may be bloopers that are in the background, but the audience is always watching to see, okay, why haven't they done that perfectly? And that drives engagement. And they'll comment, they'll tag their friends and say, have a look and look at this this person. So for example, Jimbo, the creator who's walking with the smoke bomb, was actually burning his face, and there were a lot of comments that were saying, oh, why didn't you do that perfectly? Why next time don't let it blow in your face? Just stuff like that. And again with Eloise, the milk in the bath with the rose petals, that drives the audience to want to engage and comment. So in terms of the growth maximizing strategy, this is something that we felt was really important because we post around 7 p.m. in the evenings, and for the creators' audiences and the audience that we've hit, that is like perfect for the US and UK posting time. So the whole idea is that with the posting time, it allows those in the UK who are browsing in the evening to be online, and the post hits their For You page early, so they're actually going to be online, and the velocity of more eyeballs pushes the content on the algorithm. And then also with the posting time in the US, around 7 p.m. is lunchtime on the West Coast, and if the post is up for a couple hours, then the kids after school, when they come back, it could still hit their timeline in time if they're on the East Coast as well. So the suspense in the content allowed us, when we were launching the actual piece of when we were launching the Wave House, what we did is that we posted daily as though it was a TV show, and we posted teasers of what was actually going to happen. So this allowed the audience to want to come back and see and come back for more. And the next day there was a lot of anticipation for them to come and see what was going to be on the Wave House page. And then finally, in terms of the captions, what we did is we actually used call to actions so that the audience will want to come back. So again, as I said, we posted daily. What we actually did was in the captions, it would say, next March reveal tomorrow, and we did we put 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6 every day. So the audience had that anticipation, and it was hitting our eyeballs. So in terms of tips for advertisers, what I'd say is that if you're going to launch your own channel, it's always good for you to create native media. And what I mean by native media is that media that is best fit for your product and in the TikTok style. So the whole idea is, additionally, I think that you should be focusing on working with like the best fit creators as well. So building relationships with creators prior to launching your own channels and growing your own presence on the platform will allow you to know which creators are best fit, which creators are able to drive action, and which creators are able to fit into your native media. And then finally, I'd say you need to look at creating content with a high watch time. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So in terms of what we did with Eloise's video, this video actually received over 43 million views. And it's been live for about it's been alive for about 15 days online. So 43 million views. But the key thing to look at is that the video was 13 seconds long and it had a 98% through watch rate. So it was 13.28 and the average watch time was 13 seconds. So this is crazy because if you actually think about it, it's nearly the perfect piece of content in terms of engaging an audience, because most people, or 43 million people on average, have watched it through 98% of the time. And fortunately enough, because of the watch time, which is really important for the TikTok algorithm to push the post, it actually was able to hit the For You page. And then if you look at 31% of our audience, they came through actually coming in on our personal profile, and it only actually hit 2% of our following. Main reason being is because 2% of our following, we actually, when we first launched this, when we first posted the content, we had about 130,000 followers. By the time it was 48 hours after, we had over 1 million followers. So it's not going to hit all of our audience, but it's something that I think if you're an advertiser, you should focus on creating content that has high watch time. So what I wanted to do was kind of highlight a brand or an example of advertiser or company that's on TikTok that I think is producing amazing content. And this is AliExpress. So they have like an e-commerce page where they do like life hack content, and they create content around their products that really engages the user. So the content that they create is easy to digest. It highlights the product benefits, and it's a very consistent theme. And I'll show you an example of how their content actually looks. So with the content that they create, it's like really, again, it's easy to digest. And with this content, it uses trending music. So it allows you to highlight the best features of their products. And it's a consistent theme. So if you go back and you look at their profile, you're going to see a lot more content that is very similar to this that they create, where they just highlight the feature of their product. So moving over to the summary. So my final tips for advertisers are go beyond dances and create new content for the platform on TikTok. I think as an advertiser, a lot of you may think that TikTok is all about dances and doing the latest trends, but what I think advertisers should now push towards doing is creating new content that hasn't been seen before, because that would engage the audience and it will trigger conversations. And with triggering conversations and interactions, it allows the audience to invite their friends organically so that they can come and watch your content. And with that, it pushes the watch time on the platform. So watch time is like the most crucial thing for you as an advertiser, because you want your audience to watch your content through, have the call to actions at the right time so that you can engage the audience. And with this 3-strategy approach as an advertiser and everything that I've talked about, you should be able to successfully create amazing content on TikTok and see a lot more success. My name is Jide Madewaka. I've also got a TikTok influencer guide. So if you're an advertiser, you can literally click the link here, which I'll drop in the chat. You'll then be able to download the guide. And also, if you want to contact me with any ideas or any questions, just drop me an email. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jide. That was great as always, really interesting. We've got a few questions coming in. If anyone has questions for Jide, then leave them in the ask the question box, and we'll get through them. We've got a bit of time. I've got a question. Maybe Jide, you want to stop sharing the screen, and we'll go into
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
you grab the link and yeah, share that in. So just a quick question from me first before everyone else gets a chance. With the Wave House, and it's such a sort of creative idea, creative execution, what was the process for that? You know, both creatively, you know, were you sitting around coming up with ideas, and someone had the mask, and then the milk came up, and you know, that kind of thing, and also practically, you know, do you have to hire the house? Do
Yeah.
you go to Sainsbury's and buy, you know, a lot of milk, or were you using like a production company or a director? Like what does it take to do something, you know, that level of quality and success?
Being honest, it was all done in house. So like, even though we're like a small team, we kind of the milk was bought by from a local shop, and in terms of like what we did is that we were prepping for a few months. So like during COVID, we had the idea to kind of create a content house, and because we have a large network of influencers, they're always wanting to they're pitching us ideas, and they're always pitching us like the latest trends that are going on TikTok, and a few of them have actually pitched us to create a content house. But then because of the creators that we actually worked that we're working with in the content house, when they came to us with the idea, they already had a lot of synergy as friends. All 6 of them have like kind of grown up together, and importantly, because like as I said, like the data that we have on them in terms of when we worked on our previous campaigns, we were like, definitely these guys could like execute, and like they already have the influence, as you'd say, to like drive the traffic and it to be successful. So there was a lot that has gone into it, and it's only really just started in terms of the concept, because we're way ahead of where we thought we'd be, but that's a good thing at this stage. So yeah.
Great. And this is now sort of ongoing, and we'll keep an eye on what's next for that then.
Pardon?
And so this is now something you're offering to your partners, is it? To work in a Wave House and
yeah.
campaigns, yeah.
So in terms of the Wave House, like the big vision is for us to essentially like professionalize TikTok. But I think the house has kind of gone viral, and the actual house itself. So we feel that it could be a place that influencers can actually come or collaborate and actually create like really viral and organic content. And for some in the future, we're going to be working with a lot of brands as well to kind of integrate their content organically for the videos on the Wave House. Great.
Okay, so let's go into some questions. We got 13 questions already, so let's go into these. So in terms of the app market, Andre is asking, well, what sort of CPI can you get? Do you pay creators based on the installs they drive?
Yeah, CPIs vary. So it depends on the app vertical and like how it converts. Like we usually test to we have a testing process to see the CPIs. But because obviously it's a marketplace, like they do vary based on the app. But it really, what I would probably do is just I'll be able to speak to Andre like to see how we can help him because it just depends on the app and how it monetizes as well.
Got it. And Emma is asking, what are the rules in relation to music rights when using influencers? Yeah, you had some good music in the Wave House. You want to use the music. What about that?
So TikTok has whitelisted music already on the platform. So what we did is the music we actually used for the Wave House was already in, like, if you go to sounds on TikTok when you're about to post a video, they have like a music Bible. So we just use like trending music from that and the actual content and TikTok also signals like what is trending. But in terms of music rights for like ad campaigns, I'd also say like probably you'd have to obviously use licensed music if you're going to take it off platform. And we usually work with like creators on platform, so it kind of works a bit differently.
And Lauren, I think she's from the Driving Test Success app. It's very popular here in the UK. How long do you think TikTok should be to nail the watch time?
It does. That's actually a good question. So it varies. What we usually see is that like for content, the best performing content is usually between like 18 to 33 seconds, roughly. In that range, it varies per creator because some creators they have like story content, so their watch time would actually be longer, and they actually, as a creator, they can engage their audience for an extended period of time. But then for certain creators, because they create shorter content, then their watch time will be lower. But across what we actually see is that it's probably best if we're going to work with influencers in a specific category. What will then happen is that they'd have similar watch times for their content. So you'll be able to find out kind of per category.
Great. And is there an API, Christian is asking, to pull data from influencer integration? So what about, how are you managing all the data and results?
So what we've done is that we obviously use like MMPs, so like for like our mobile campaigns, so like AppsFlyer, Adjust. So we have the data from our campaigns on our database so that we can kind of optimize it in-house, and we can use that. In terms of an API, I'm not actually too sure. I'd have to like kind of check for you.
Okay. Maybe that's a follow-up. So
Yeah.
you do you use a lot of, you mainly using TikTok's analytics tools, or any kind of third-party kind of add-ons you recommend, or just use what they have plus a bit of Google?
Yeah, like what it is that there aren't for us personally, we get a lot of data from our campaigns. So what we do is we like optimize it that way. We optimize it from what we have. But so I don't actually go out and search for like other tools myself. So I don't know about external tools, but definitely what I would say is that you should kind of set up your campaign so that you can kind of have them as a test, and you can log kind of the performance and optimize it that way. So that's what I would suggest. But I'm not actually familiar with like other external tools because of the way that we work.
Got it. And Aaron is from the game space. He says, great deck. We'd love to know what you think the USP of TikTok is for advertisers like him in games. Why should I spend budget here instead of elsewhere?
Well, why you should spend budget on TikTok depends on what game you have, because I personally don't think that every brand right now would be perfect for TikTok because of the audience. So it depends on the game, and then it depends on the angle that you're going to advertise, so you can integrate it with the audience that's on the platform. So I would actually ask, like, what game vertical do you have on what category, and then I could kind of help answer that better.
So Aaron, if you're listening, maybe you can, you're still paying attention, you can maybe tell us what game vertical, and we'll drive back into that. So Julia is asking, what about this interaction between organic influencer activity? I guess that can also be sort of paid influence activity, and I guess ads.
Yeah.
Launched ad platform. How are these two interacting?
So we don't actually do any paid ourselves. Main reason because we found out that we're really good at influencer. So what we do is that we stick with influencers and like focus on that side. I do know that there's in terms of the native marketplace, there's a creator marketplace that kind of facilitates advertisers to work with influencers, and then there's a native ads where you actually should then kind of get content from influencers, then you can run them for your native ads, if that makes sense. So what I would say is that with TikTok, you'd always have to either have like really engaging creatives for your native ads. So what you should probably do is work with the creators to create that, and then use that and then acquire that content and use it for your ads.
at this point, you're not really boosting, if you like, your influencer stuff with paid ads.
No, we don't do that because like the whole idea is that we're trying to build an audience. So I feel like TikTok's a platform now that you can organically build an audience easily. And like, for example, you can see that we've done it well. Like if you look at the watch time for Eloise's content, like if that was a paid ad, the watch time will be a lot lower. But the reason why it's gone viral is because it had a 98% watch through rate. And across like a lot of our master reveals, they were in that 90% bracket. So by creating good content, then that gets pushed on the algorithm because of the watch time and the engagement. And then that goes viral and you can build an audience that way.
Got it. And Elsa, supported by Andre, saying, what about paying influencers? I guess in the app space, it's installs, others it might be, purchases. Is that how you're sort of remunerating them, or is it a different model?
So we pay influencers for in the app space on a performance basis, so they get paid per install.
Got it. And Aaron's asking, what sort of targeting do you do with your influencers? How do you select the most relevant pool of creators?
Well, what we look at is obviously like the views. That's important, and then we also look at it's more the best signal I think for influencers is consistency of views. So I showed you like Bella Porch. She consistently gets millions worth of views, and that's like a lot more eyeballs that she's constantly reaching. But the other creator, I think Ria Official, she got, even though she had like 7 million followers, she had like she had like a couple tens of thousand views on average, and that fluctuated between like a couple 100,000 and like 50,000. So for us, we just look at the view consistency.
Got it. Rustam is asking, do you know what portion and percentage of the existing followers of TikTok creators is exposed to content that you post? Okay, so I guess it's saying, if you've got a follower, how likely is it they're going to see your stuff? It's obviously, incredibly low now on Facebook and a bit better on Instagram, but where are we in TikTok?
On TikTok, all the creators kind of know. So what you would do is that you just go on the insights for the actual content that was posted, and they could share the insights with you. So you can see if they got it from the For You page, you can see if they got it from their existing followers, and you can see if they got it from like the sound. So like TikTok gives you a full breakdown of like where they get their audience, and that's more the creators that know and can create content around that.
Got it. And Rena saying, what would you recommend for a brand that's just starting at social media and influencer marketing presence? Go hard on TikTok or start with the known platforms?
Well, it depends on what the brand does. What I would say is that TikTok's probably the easiest platform to grow right now. And like, for example, with the Wave House, so we've posted on TikTok, and since launch we've got 2.3 million followers on TikTok. On Instagram we have 70,000 followers, and they both started at 0 on day one. So there was a time when we were growing, we were saying that it's 10 times easier to get followers on TikTok. But then if you look at that ratio, because they started on the same day, it's probably about 20 times easier to get followers on TikTok than on Instagram. So I say start on TikTok because you're giving yourself more of an opportunity to grow, and you can migrate that audience.
Great. Okay, let's try and keep getting through these questions. So what is the best way to track a TikTok campaign? Can you measure traffic to a website? You've talked about some of the other metrics, engagement.
It depends on your KPI. So like, for example, if you're trying to do a campaign that you want to get brand awareness, then the way you track it is based on the views you receive. If you're trying to get sales, then the way you'll track it is probably by getting influencers to direct their audience to a link in their bio and then seeing how many sales. So it's based on what you're tracking.
Great. And Nora's asking, what are the perks to content houses? I guess, is this something that advertisers look to work with over individual creators?
The content houses, the perks are mainly for the creators, but then again for the advertisers, because what happens is that with content houses, it's like a cross-pollination of audiences, and you actually see the influencers grow a lot faster when they're in a content house. So like we have one creator, Elman Films, in the house. When he first was on, before he was announced that he was in the house, he had like 100K followers on TikTok, and since he was announced, he's got it's about 180K. So he's nearly doubled his following in like a couple of weeks. So what I would say is that the perks are you can get access to a lot more audience and eyeballs because you're working with more influencers in one space.
Got it. And last question is, it's disappeared. I think someone's upvoted it. How are you dealing with, this is Milos, I think he wanted to know, what about dealing with TikToks? He called it strict creative rules.
Yeah, the creative rules are a lot more strict on native ads, but then they are on influencer ads. But I do know that for the native ads, like there's a lot more stricter rules. But one way that you can kind of have a presence on TikTok is by working with creators as an advertiser.
Got it. Good. Okay. Well, I think we're at the end of our 16 questions. So, Jide, maybe you've pasted a bit earlier in the chat your link. I think maybe you can paste maybe how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, cool.
And really appreciate you taking part in today, and really amazing seeing what you're building with the Wave House. And I know you guys have, as I said in the intro, been doing this right from the start. So happy to see how successful it's been for you, and hope to hear more from you at our next event.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely will do. I put the link to the influencer guide in the chat and my email address if you've got any questions. So thank you so much for your time today, guys, and take care, and thank you as well, James.
Great, thanks, Jide. Okay, next up, guys, we've got another session on influencers. So we're going to be doing a little panel on influencer marketing on TikTok. So there'll be more time for questions. 3 really good panelists, another good chance to get some questions answered, get some more insight in influencer marketing. So we see you back here in 10 minutes.